रशीद के साथ रिजवान रशीद आपकी खिदमत में हाजिर है। अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, आज का ये प्रोग्राम खुसूसी अहमियत का हामिल है इस वजह से कि ये इमिग्रेंट के साथ ताल्लुक़ रखता है। जी हाँ, वो पाकिस्तानी या वो इंडियन, बांग्लादेश, श्रीलंका वाले जो इमिग्रेंट जो कनाडा में या नॉर्थ अमेरिका में मुकीम हैं, उनके साथ ताल्लुक़ रखता है। और उसका ताल्लुक़ आपके प्रोफेशन से है, आपकी जॉब से है, आपकी रिक्रूटमेंट से है। बारहा हम ये सुनते आए हैं, जैसे ही मैं इस मुल्क में आया मुझे जॉब नहीं मिल रही, मुझे जॉब अपने प्रोफेशन के साथ नहीं मिल रही, मुझे जॉब उस स्टैंडर्ड की नहीं मिल रही जो मुझे सैलरी का मैं हकदार हूँ वो नहीं मिल रही, मुझे रेज्यूमे नहीं बनाना आ रहा, मुझे अच्छे रिक्रूटर की तलाश है, मुझे अच्छे टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स को चाहिए जिनसे मैं जॉब ले सकूं। कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें जो हमें मालूम हैं, कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें जो हमने गूगल की हुई हैं, कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें जो हमने शायद यूट्यूब से सुनी हैं, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ एक मुकम्मल जामे प्रोग्राम जिसमें हम एक रिक्रूटर को लेके आ रहे हैं आपके सवालात, आपके जवाबात के लिए, ताकि आप वो जान सकें वो जवाबात जिनसे आप अपने प्रोफेशन में रियल मानों में, रियल प्रोफेशन में, रियल इंडस्ट्री में, रियल सैलरी रेंज में जॉब हासिल कर सकें। जी हाँ, आज का ये प्रोग्राम उन सब सवालात पे मबनी है, स्पेशली जो न्यू इमिग्रेंट आ रहे हैं या आना चाहते हैं या इस वक्त हैं और किसी और फील्ड में इस वक्त काम करें, उनके लिए वो सवालात जो आपने अपने दोस्तों से, अपने फैमिली से या अपने जानने वालों से किए हैं कि भाई कोई रिक्रूटर है, कोई रेज्यूमे कैसे लिखूं, क्या सवालात के जवाबात दूं, उन सब चीज़ों को एड्रेस करने के लिए आज मैं जो दावत दे रहा हूं वो जो स्टैटर हैं, जो स्टैटर पिछले 20 साल से रिक्रूटमेंट की दुनिया से वाबस्ता हैं। 11,000 से ज़्यादा लोगों के साथ इनका राब्ता हो चुका है, 11,000 लोगों में इनफैक्ट उन्होंने प्लेसमेंट की है और उनका दावा है कि 2 दिन के से पहले पहले भी आपको मैं जॉब दिला सकता हूं आपके प्रोफेशन में, आपकी सैलरी रेंज में और बिना कनेडियन एक्सपीरियंस के हवाले से। तो आइए आज की सिर हासिल गुफ्तगू में आपको शामिल करते हैं। Let's welcome Joe Statter, CEO of the Celebrate Group, a recruiter, a trainer and a career coach. Welcome to the show, Joe.
है वो उर्दू और अंग्रेजी दोनों जुबानों में होगा। मेरी कोशिश होगी कि मैं उनके जवाबात उर्दू में दे सकूं ताकि आपको समझ आ सके या आप कनेक्टिविटी हो सके। So for the sake of audience as well as Joe, I wanted to introduce Joe, a great friend of mine, a great career counselor. In his words, he spent over 25,000 hours in, perfecting his skill as a recruiter, as a counselor, and as a trainer, how to land your dream job. And this is his mantra. And I love his part of it. As soon as I start talking to him, I felt like this is the biggest need and most urgent one to connect with you, the audience, be able to connect. And especially as an immigrant, we are here to upbring, to upscale our life here. And we kind of get into that zone always. I didn't get in right industry, not right profession, less paid, whatever the condition is. Today, we're going to dissect with understanding what are some steps that you needed to do and how Joe can help you. But before opening, I'm going to warmly welcome Joe Statter, CEO of the Celebrate Group, on this show. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Rizwan, thank you again for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of my wisdom that I've acquired over the years.
Thank you so much, Joe. You are awesome giving us time and your knowledge in there. But actually, you mesmerized me with one of the session you gave me and provided some information when your brother was applying for a mechanical engineer and you persuaded him to follow through, but he didn't. But you continuously worked through that interview process and went through that. This is actually just a mind opening. And I was like, aha, this is where we can make the difference. This is where you can step in as an authority. So for our audience, let's share that particular example so people will understand what business you are in and why you are the authority of that.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to do a quick background so people understand how I got to where I am. So I didn't know what I want to do when I grow up. So I switched careers 9 times and jobs 18 times. So I've
Okay.
gone through the trials and tribulations of trying to prove that I know what I'm doing in a new job.
Mm-hmm.
I've also kind of, in part of switching jobs, I became a recruiter. I've worked for with companies like Tata, Deloitte and Touche, Apotex Pharmaceuticals, Aecon Construction, and many more. So I've had firsthand knowledge on what those companies are looking for when they hire through me, let's say, as a recruiter. And on top of that, I've written 6 books on how to find a job correctly. One of the most popular one is the Canadian version called Canada, Congratulations, You're Hired. It was easier than you thought. And in the process of writing this book and trying to kind of get the message out, I've helped 11,000 people find employment basically as quickly as 2 days. 90% of them, including most of them being new immigrants, finding employment in their field in under 3 months. So the story you were asking me, basically, my brother was finishing his 3rd-year mechanical engineering degree. He was applying for an internship. By the time one of the companies responded to him, it was going to be more of a paper pusher job, and he already registered for his 4th-year classes. So he asked me to cancel the interview. I decided to go in as my brother. I studied economics and business. The only thing I know about mechanical engineering is what I wrote for him on his resume. Now, my first interview, there was 100 students from 4 major universities in Ontario. And within 45 minutes, human resource called me back and said, "We love you. We need to come back for a second interview." I went, "Okay, let's see how far I can take this." My second interview was with the manager of the department that I potentially work with. Now, I spoke the truth about my brother's resume. So my brother was in a team that designed a wheelchair for third world nations that uses a tank chain so it can go on any terrain. Came second in Ontario for the best mechanical engineering projects of the year. Won $500 from RBC. Told the manager I studied thermodynamics and quantum physics. To this day, I have no idea what those are. Didn't even leave the parking lot. Manager called me back and said, "I adore you. I need to come back for a third and final interview." I was like, "Okay, let's see how far I can take this." So out of 100 candidates, I made it to the final 3. I was the first one in at 8:30 in the morning. Manager walked over to me and goes, "Here's your offer letter. The job's yours. All you have to do is pass this mechanical engineering test." I looked at him. I looked at the test. I looked at him. I looked at the test. I'm like, "I can't do this test." Manager looked at me and goes, "I know you're nervous. Let me help you." He solved the first 2 questions for me. I looked at him. I said, "I am so sorry for wasting your time. I guess I'm a lot more comfortable with the design than I am with the calculation. I am not the right candidate for this job. Thank you for the opportunity." Manager followed me to the car and begged me to take the job because I've interviewed that much better than every other mechanical engineer. Right? And I've done this because I've created a system that guarantees results regardless of your experience, regardless of where you're from. And I've tested this with IT jobs, with law jobs, with, different types of engineering jobs, accounting jobs, none of which are my profession, none of which are my background.
That is amazing, guys. I'm sure he grabbed your attention. I'm sure you actually open your eyes and open your heart in order to listen the rest of the show, because this is a guy who has helped over 11,000 people in 2 days job hunting in order to get to the job, and he demonstrated by. So he just was testing the system. He's testing his own system, how far he can go, and he knew what to say, how to conduct the in-person or over the phone interview in order to get through. So I'm sure you are now interested in knowing a little bit more. But for the sake of immigrant, Joe, a newly immigrant comes into the country. Now, the first thing they are looking for is their resume. This is where they start looking to drop it in. You gave some great insight, and your program have great insight how to write their resumes. And I want you to highlight some of the key areas for an immigrant to look for their resumes.
So I'll start with certain things that, first of all, is kind of mandatory abroad. Like, for example, abroad in India or Pakistan or Sri Lanka, it is necessary to write your date of birth, your marital status, which in Canada, they're not allowed to ask for. It's illegal to ask for it. Also, when Canadians say to you, you don't have Canadian experience, it's actually illegal to say that. Canadian experience is actually a loophole. Canadian experience means how good is your English? And you seem to have a lot of experience. You might do this job better than me, and I'm worried about losing my job, which is why I don't want to hire you. Now, in terms of a resume, and this is a mistake that most people make, is that they kind of do a resume that's very cookie cutter. You know what? Cookies are meant to be eaten, not to write a resume with. And so, like I say, these are the 5, I call them cardinal sins or the biggest mistakes on a resume. Number 1, people use Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri as a font. Because those are the 3 most popular fonts in Microsoft, it defaults to those fonts. But when you use those fonts, you look like everybody else, right? And if anybody saw the movie Legally Blonde, when Elle Woods is applying to Harvard or internship, she sends in a pink scented resume. And everybody goes, it's pink and it's scented, but they remember it. And so you want to be able to stand out. So the first mistake is having the same font as everybody else. The second mistake that most people do, and this is unfortunately the standard around the world that's been taught, is that you use black dots or circles, squares, arrows, or dashes as your bullet points. Again, very cookie cutter, very the same. The reality prior to COVID was that one job posting was getting between 350 and 5,000 applicants, depending on the position. In COVID, when COVID hit, especially in North America, 60 to 65 million people lost their job. That means that the competition went up 4 or 5 times. So if it was 350 people before, you're now competing with 1,200 people, let's say. And the reality is that most companies, when they post on Indeed, only look at the first 100 resumes. So if you're number 370, no one sees your resume because you get lost in the shuffle. And as soon as I'm done the list of 5, I'm going to give some tricks on how to beat the databases there. So number 1, don't use Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri as a font. Number 2, stop using circles, squares, arrows, or hyphens or dashes as your bullet point. Number 3, a lot of people, and again, this is especially for new immigrants, they kind of have a area called skills or summary of career where they say, I've been in the profession for 10, 15 years or so. And then they write useless information like, I'm hardworking, dedicated, committed team player with excellent communication skills, because those are the soft skills that appear on every job posting. Here's the reality. In 20 years of recruiting, including for companies like Tata, not once have I looked for a resume with the word hardworking, dedicated, committed, and team player. Because what you need to understand is your interpretation, Rizwan, of hardworking might be very different than my interpretation, right? So if I use, for example, public accountant, during tax season, it is mandatory for a public accountant to work 80 hours a week. So what's hardworking? 100? And if I compare an accountant to, let's say, a nurse might have to do 4 or 5 hours of overtime because the next shift hasn't arrived. So does that mean that the nurse is less hardworking than the accountant? No, because the nurse has a different level of stress, a different level of responsibility. So you can't compare. So the words are very subjective. And what happens is that you're just basically filling fluff on your resume, right? In 20 years of recruiting, I've met maybe 3 people that have said, listen, I'm lazy. I will show up late. None of my work will be any good. And I really hate people. Please hire me. The only time that works is if you're related to somebody in the company or you're having an affair with them. Right?
That's so true.
Right. The last 2 rules are basically, rule number 4 is a lot of people write a chronological or functional resume. Now, here's the thing. As a new immigrant, if you took on a job, like let's say working at Tim Hortons just to pay the bills and just to try and get into the system, and that's the first thing that an employer sees if you're trying to be an engineer, they're going to dismiss you right away, because the reality is that most employers spend between 8 and 30 seconds reading your resume. That means they look at the top third to the top half of your resume. If something catches their attention, they put you in the yes file, right? So stop putting everything in order because it's not relevant. And the biggest mistake of all, and this one, I'd say even non-immigrants do, probably 98% of the population does this, is people list their duties and responsibilities. Like, I'm going to use accountant again, for example. An accountant that tells me he knows how to, or she knows how to make financial statements. Have you met one accountant in the world that does not know how to make financial statements? Because if they're an accountant and they don't know financial statements, how are they an accountant?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Companies don't care that you know something. Companies care how good you are. So I always give this example. If you're applying to be a receptionist somewhere, and you come to a company and say, I know how to answer the phone, a potential employer should look at you in shock and go, really? A receptionist that knows how to answer the phone? We did not know that. Because unless you live in an igloo, a cave, or a Mennonite, chances are you know how to press the green button and go, hello, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Right? Now, everybody laughs when I give this example, but again, if a receptionist went to school or had experience, even if it's back home, and she answered or he answered 60 calls a day with 12 different lines, I can measure 60 calls a day with 12 different lines. I cannot measure, I know how to answer the phone. If you're an engineer and you made a machine work faster, better, or more efficiently as an engineer, that's what I want to hear about. I don't want to hear that you know engineering, because if it says engineer and you've worked as an engineer, I assume you know parallel boards and circuit boards and switches and stuff like that. I want to know what are the results that you as an engineer produce. And that is what most people, when they apply for a job, do not do. And that's why nobody ever calls them.
Beautiful, beautiful. नाज़रीन, आपने ये देखा जो हेल्प ओवर 11,000 लोगों में उनको नौकरियां देने में, उसने कहा कि इमिग्रेंट 5 चीजें अगर कर लें, स्पेशली अपने रेज्यूमे में, तो 5 चीजें उनको मैच कर देती हैं कैनेडियंस एप्लीकेंट के साथ. वो आपको बावर करा देती हैं कि आप कैनेडियन हैं और कनाडा की एक्सपीरियंस रखते हैं. सबसे पहले जो रेज्यूमे है उसमें आप जो फॉन्ट का इस्तेमाल करते हैं वो अमूमी तौर पे टाइम्स न्यू रोमन, एरियल फॉन्ट्स वो यूज करते हैं, तो आपको फौरी तौर पे पता चलता है आम से बनने हैं. आपने बिल्कुल वर्ड डॉक्यूमेंट खोला और वहीं पे बनाना चाहिए. यू मस्ट मेक अ डिफरेंस. आप एक तब्दीली उसमें लाएं. उसके अलावा इस वक्त जो कोविड की वजह से या कोविड से पहले भी एक जॉब के लिए 300 से 500 तक रेज्यूमे जाते थे, अब 1200 से ज्यादा हैं. इसका मतलब है आपको उनमें स्टैंड आउट करना है. वो स्टैंड आउट करने में सबसे ज्यादा क्या है कि फंक्शनल रेज्यूमे में आप सब चीजें लिखने की जरूरत नहीं कि मैंने पिछले साल आया था, बीच में गैस स्टेशन में काम किया. वो हमें ये मालूम है थोड़ी सी बातें, लेकिन हम देखते हैं क्योंकि ये रिक्रूटर 20 साल से वो बता रहा है कि वो दोबारा देखते हैं इन चीजों को. अगर आप इंजीनियर हैं तो इंजीनियर के रेलेवेंट ही रहिए. अगर आपने जॉब कोई और की है इस दौरान, तो जरूरी नहीं कि उनको कैप्चर करने की जरूरत है. और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात है जो मैंने खुद अपने दौर में अपनी चीजों में देखा है कि ड्यूटीज एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज के मैं बहुत हार्ड वर्किंग हूँ. इट नन ऑफ दिस मैटर, क्योंकि मैटर वो करता है कि आपने रिजल्ट्स क्या प्रोड्यूस किए हैं. ये रिजल्ट ओरिएंटेड अगर रेज्यूमे आपको बनाना आ गया तो आपको डायरेक्टली आपको मिलेगा. हम इससे आगे जाते हैं, इनसे पूछते हैं जो this is a great information going into this like details in terms of resume. Now you have another way of getting notice in the resume, and you give a couple of other steps as well, or giving your clients how do you get notice. So you send a resume, you change the font, you trying to make out a difference, you made a resume which is specifically target result oriented, but still we are still in the pile of 1,200 people. How do we differentiate?
So there's a few tricks that you can do. So the first one is, most jobs in North America say, don't call us, we'll call you. Mm-hmm. And most new immigrants will go, okay, I wait. And then they say, I sent out 1,000 resumes, there's no jobs. Mm-hmm. There is jobs, but you're not getting noticed. Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is you want to kind of call the company, call let's say HR, and say, my internet crashed. Mm-hmm. My computer has been giving me problems. Mm-hmm. Can you please check that my application went through? So now when they go look at the database, if you're 1,000 and they pull your resume and they open it on their screen, you're now number 1 on the screen. Second thing is, like, you already have them on the phone. They're speaking to you. So if your resume is written with results that you produce, you know, numbers, dollar figures, percentage figures, time figures, inventory figures, macros, templates, policy, procedure, documentation, special initiative that you personally did, you can tell that person in HR, by the way, these are 2 things or 3 things that I did, which was why you want to consider me for this job. And then while you're on the conversation with them, you can say, okay, when are you going to start interviewing for this job? And they're going to say, let's say in 2 weeks. And you say, okay, well, if I don't hear from you in 3 weeks, do I have permission to call you, Rizwan, because you're the expert, to give me feedback on how I can make my resume better so that next time I have a better chance of getting hired? Now you've also asked permission to speak to them, right? So that's the first basic trick, but there's also tricks to beat the databases. So do you want me to go into that, or do you want to translate first?
Let me like rephrase this. नाज़रीन, आपके लिए उन्होंने बताया कि हर जॉब के एंड में लिखा है डोंट कॉल, और ये अमूमी तौर पे ऐसा ही है क्योंकि उनको, जैसे आपने कहा कि 1200 से ज्यादा रेज्यूमे मिल रहे हैं, तो वो उनके पास कॉल लेने के लिए गुंजाइश नहीं है, टाइम नहीं है. जो ये बता रहे हैं कि पिक अप द फोन एंड कॉल देम, बट कॉल स्ट्रेटेजिकली. अब ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है, स्ट्रेटेजिक. इसमें 3 चीजें आपको करनी है. उन 3 चीजों से आप स्टैंड आउट करते हैं, आप रिक्रूटर के, HR मैनेजर के सामने आते हैं. नंबर 1, आप उनको जब कॉल करते हैं, अपने रेज्यूमे के बारे में पूछते हैं. जो भी आपने बहाना बनाना है, जो भी आपने एक्सक्यूज देना है कि मैं किस लिए कॉल कर रहा हूं, वो आपने समझना है. मेरा इंटरनेट खराब है, मेरा ईमेल में प्रोसेस है, जो भी आपने उनसे बहाना बनाना है कि वो जैसे ही आप करेंगे, आपका रेज्यूमे बाहर आ गया. एक दफा उनको 10 सेकंड, 15 सेकंड, 20 सेकंड उनको नजर आ गया, आप उनकी नजर में आ गए. नंबर 2, आपने अपनी हाईलाइट की, जैसे आपने रेज्यूमे में जो रिजल्ट ओरिएंटेड चीजें जो आपने अचीवमेंट की हैं अपनी प्रोफेशनल लाइफ में, वो अचीवमेंट 2 से 3 उनको बता दी जो जॉब रेलेवेंट हैं. इट मींस कि आपने उनके जहन में डाल दिया है कि मैं हूं इस जॉब के काबिल, वो आपको याद रखेंगे. और तीसरा, आपने उनसे इजाजत ली कि मैं दोबारा फॉलो अप कर सकता हूं कि नहीं, क्योंकि इस इजाजत में आपकी सारी कामयाबी पिन्हा है. क्यों? क्योंकि जब आप इजाजत लेते हैं तो वो आपको बता सकेंगे आपको जॉब मिलेगी या नहीं मिलेगी. दोनों सूरत में आपकी कामयाबी. क्यों? एक तो अगर आपको जॉब मिल गई तो वेल एंड गुड. दूसरी, आपको पता चल जाएगा कि वो किस वजह से जॉब नहीं मिली. जब आपको वो वजह पता चलेगी, अगली दफा आप सही कर लेंगे. It means you are right on the track. So, Joe, this is amazing. Let's move forward from here. Standing out, following it up, giving them your top highlights about your achievements, and asking for the permission to follow up. What would be the next step?
So again, most of the population spends a lot of their time on job boards like Indeed, Glassdoor, Career Builder. Personally, my opinion, you should be spending the least amount of time on those. But if you're going to spend time on Indeed job because you're looking through the job boards, there's 3 things you need to understand about the job boards. Okay. Number 1, the job boards score your resume on how old the resume is. So what they do, like most of the job boards, update or refresh the database every night between 11:45 p.m. and 2:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you posted your resume, let's say in May on Indeed, and you haven't touched it, you're probably on page 8,000 of the database. No one's ever going to see you. So what you can do is every night before you go to bed, go anywhere on your resume, press the space bar, and save it. The moment that you make any minor changes, the database thinks, oh, this is a new resume. So when it's going through the new resumes to send to HR, to send to recruiters, the moment that you've made a small change, it pushes you to the top of the list because you're not on page 8,000, right? The second thing that the database scores you is how many times keywords or technical words appear on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, when they write resumes, write, manage, direct, liaise, but the databases don't look for those words. The database looks for specific industry related work. So if you work in sales, they're looking for the word B2B sales, B2C sales, B2G sales, right? Account management, relationship building, because those are lead generation. Those are sales words, not manage, direct, liaise, or whatever. So you need to populate your resume with the technical words that you will do on the job. So for accountant, it's general ledger, financial statements, accounting, accounts receivable, accounts payable, reconciliation, balance sheet, income statement. Those are the words that you need on your resume, not manage, direct, liaise, coordinated. And this is why I also said I don't like chronological or functional resumes, because the third thing that the database do to measure how good your resume and score how good of a match you are to a job description is they look at how close to your name those words appear. So if, let's say, all your accounting words are on page 2 of your resume, the database goes, that's not a good candidate because the accounting words are on page 2, or the engineering words are on page 2. So if you put them, let's say, instead of having your career highlights, you put the engineering skills, the accounting skills, the sales skills, the marketing skills, whatever skills, the IT skills that you have right at the top, the database goes, ooh, I found the words right away. I found a lot of words. I found the words throughout the resume. And every night you go and refresh by adding a chain. Like even if you go, let's say, Rizwan, right beside your name, you press period, you add a period, you save it, you erase the period, you save it. The moment that you touch your resume and save it, it's a new resume. So now you're increasing your chances of being noticed by the database because you've done these 3 simple things. Right? So
Beautiful.
I'll let you translate and then I'll continue
beautiful. This is नाज़रीन आपको आई थिंक यकीनी तौर पे ये इनसाइड इंफॉर्मेशन मिली होगी, तो आपको ये यकीनी तौर पे ये एहसास हुआ होगा कि ये छोटी छोटी चीजें अगर मैं करूं तो कैसे अपना रेज्यूमे इन जॉब बोर्ड्स में, बहुत सारे लोग इंडीड, मॉन्स्टर या डिफरेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, डिफरेंट जॉब बोर्ड्स को यूज करते हैं और फिर कहते हैं मैंने अपना रेज्यूमे अपलोड किया, अभी तक कोई कॉल नहीं आई, कोई जवाब नहीं आया, किसी ने अप्लाई नहीं किया। तो जो के मुताबिक जॉब बोर्ड्स एवरी नाइट रिफ्रेश होते हैं 12 बजे रात को से लेके सुबह 2 बजे के दौरान। उस दौरान अगर आपने रेज्यूमे अपना एवरी नाइट किसी वक्त भी उससे पहले आपने अपडेट किया है, उसमें छोटी सी भी एक डॉट या एक स्पेस ऐड करके सेव किया है, आपका रेज्यूमे रिफ्रेश हो जाता है कि हमने रिसेंटली अपडेट किया, तो वो फाइल में आ जाता है। दूसरी, कीवर्ड्स जो भी आपके प्रोफेशन के साथ हैं वो कीवर्ड्स उसमें एंटर करेंगे, जो भी आप प्रोफेशन के साथ, वो जो आप लिंगो यूज करते हैं प्रोफेशन में, इंजीनियर्स जो हैं वो यूज करते हैं, अकाउंटेंट या जो बैंकर्स हैं, जो भी वो कीवर्ड यूज करते हैं वो अगर उसमें हो तो दैट विल बी। एंड द सेकंड पार्ट इन कीवर्ड इज कि वो पहले सफे पे ही हो, पहले करीब करीब जैसे ही वो स्कैन कर रहा हो वो आ जाए, क्योंकि अगर अगले सफे पे हैं, उससे अगले सफे पे हैं, तो इसका मतलब है कि वो आपकी बहुत पुरानी जॉब है, आपकी पुराना तजर्बा है, इसलिए वो उसको स्किप कर देता है। तो यू आर हैकिंग द सिस्टम, आप सिस्टम को इससे हैक करें कि आपके रेज्यूमे को आगे से आगे लेके जाए। Wow, Joe, this is amazing information, and I'm sure everybody is going to love to know a little bit more about it. I want you to shift that thing, and one of the mindset, especially in the immigrant people, is I don't want to hire a recruiter because I want to keep going on to job board, because job board I don't have to pay. I just update the resume and do it too. What would you tell them about the recruiter? Is the recruiter is getting money up front, or the recruiter is getting paid by the companies? What are the different recruiters that people can connect with?
Okay, so if you are already in Canada and you have your landed immigrant status, if you're working with a recruiter, the company pays the recruiter. And the company already has relationships with the recruiter, so it's in your benefit to register with multiple recruiters.
Here's
Now,
the difference. Here's the difference, guys. This is the difference I want you to walk away with this. मैं आपको ये चाहता हूँ, ये आपका बिल्कुल क्लियर माइंड हो कि रिक्रूटर को आप पैसे नहीं दे रहे, रिक्रूटर को कंपनी पैसे दे रही है. You know, that is the difference. Yes, Joe, go ahead.
so if you're kind of applying from abroad, the recruiter will charge you because it's part of the kind of getting the paperwork for you to get your LMIA or the different types of immigration to Canada. Right. That's why the recruiter charges you in terms of abroad. Now, once you're here, I recommend to, let's say, register with at least 6 agencies. Okay. Three global or large agencies, and 3 kind of local or specific to your industry agencies. The reason I recommend 6 is because I assume that half of them will not like you. They don't like your accent. They don't like that you don't have Canadian experience. They don't like something about you. As Canadians, we're very polite. We'll never tell you directly to your face, or most people will not tell you, right? But if you have 3 recruiters that do like you, because they make commission from the company to place you, if they interviewed you, they're like, wow, you're really smart, you're really great, and they represent you the company, they make money if you get hired. It's in their interest. Right. Now, the reason I say 6 is because you don't know which 3 will like you. So you're increasing your chances by registering with more agencies, for example, right? Because they will do the legwork for you. Now, the biggest mistakes that most people make with an agency is they go, okay, you interviewed me. Where's my job? Where's my job? Where's my job? You have to understand that as much as a recruiter wants to place you, there's a lot of variables that happen behind the scenes that you don't know. Right? Because it could be politics where, like, Rizwan, you and I are working together. I interviewed somebody, but you don't want to split commission with me. So you're not going to look at my candidate. It could be the client that's holding off and delaying things and things like that. It could be, you know, I as a recruiter, it's my job. Correct. So don't get frustrated if you get one bad recruiter, because it does happen in every profession. Right? So make sure that you kind of register with, like I said, at least 6 recruiters. Now, when the recruiter interviews you, the first thing you need to ask the recruiter is, what can I do to make it easier for you to market me? So do you need me to rewrite the resume? Because if you ask, let's say, 5 recruiters what makes a good resume, you'll probably get 20 different opinions. Why? Because let's say if I use like companies I mentioned before, like Tata might like resumes like this, but Deloitte & Touche wants resumes like this, and Apotex Pharmaceuticals wants resumes like this. So it doesn't mean that this resume is better than this resume. It's just a matter of the mindset that the company has or the recruiter has on what makes a good resume, right? So don't get frustrated, because most of the time, if you've written the results, the only thing that a recruiter will ask you to change is the layout or the formatting of the resume, which is literally cut and paste and put it into a simpler, whatever format they like, right? It's nice and easy, but don't kind of go, oh, well, I registered with one, I spent 3 hours, they never did anything, so I don't want to register with others, because you're losing valuable opportunities. Because a lot of time, like, the statistics say that for a company to have one open position costs them on average $100,000 per month, right? $100,000 per month. So as a recruiter, if I charge, let's say, $10,000, and I can find you somebody in 2-3 weeks, and I save you $90,000 a month. For a lot of companies, they go, okay, so instead of having the position open for 4 or 5 months and losing $400,000 or $500,000, you're going to charge me $10,000, and I have a person, and I have a guarantee on that person because you reference them, you check them, everything like that. You also save me time, right? And that's why recruiters are a good idea or a great idea.
और नाज़रीन, अब आपने ये देखा कि रिक्रूटर जो है वो पेड होता है, उसको जो पैसे मिलते हैं वो कंपनी से मिलते हैं। तो अगर आप रिक्रूटर को लेते हो, मैं यानी नॉर्मली जानकारी तो ये है, लेकिन अमूमी तौर पे जितने भी लोग आते हैं वो कहते हैं मैं किसी की सर्विसेज लूंगा, मुझे पैसे पे करेंगे, क्योंकि बैक होम में पाकिस्तान, इंडिया, बांग्लादेश में, श्रीलंका में ऐसा ही माइंड सेट है कि जिसको मैं हायर करूंगा मुझे पे करना पड़ेगा। लेकिन यहाँ पे डिफरेंट है। तो उस सूरत में रिक्रूटर पेड होता है कंपनी में, और वो कब होता है? जब आपको वो हायर करा देगा। दैट इज द की एलिमेंट, आप उसको रिमेंबर करें। और जो के मुताबिक आप 6 रिक्रूटर के साथ बातचीत करें, 3 जो इंटरनेशनल होंगे, 3 लोकल होंगे। कोई इंटरनेशनल कंपनी के साथ आपको इंट्रोड्यूस करा सकता है, कोई लोकल कंपनी के साथ इंट्रोड्यूस कर सकता है। तो ओवरऑल आपका कॉन्सेप्ट एंड द हाईएस्ट पॉइंट, आई थिंक जबरदस्त बात की है, सेल्स और मार्केटिंग के हवाले से बात है कि आप रिक्रूटर से पूछते हैं मैं क्या तुम्हारी मदद कर सकता हूं कि जो मुझे मार्केट आसानी से कर सको। दिस इज द की, like what can I do to market you, to help you to market me more easily.
Correct.
That
So,
is the key in order to help. Because why? Because if you help them make the money off your skill set, they're going to help you find the job more easily, more quickly for that. So
so can
yes.
I share a couple of stories of this, for
Yes,
example?
please. I was going to
So,
ask you anyway.
so perfect. So, for example, I had a gentleman that kind of relatively new to Canada, Chinese background, came to me for an interview for an accounting position.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, "What's your favorite thing about accounting?" He
Mm-hmm.
said, "Accounts payable, accounts receivable, reconciliation." I said,
Okay.
"Okay. What's your least favorite thing about accounting?" "Accounts payable, accounts receivable, reconciliation." I said, "Okay. What's the hardest part about accounting?" "Accounts payable, accounts receivable, reconciliation." I said, "What's the easiest part about accounting?" "Accounts payable, accounts receivable, reconciliation." He memorized those 3 words. I stopped him. I said, "Listen, unless you want to go work for a Chinese company, no one in Canada will hire you unless your English is better."
Yeah. He doesn't understand what
I said, no, he understood. I said, "Go study English for 6 months, come back to me."
Mm-hmm.
He came back to me 6 months later and said, "Okay, I just did the English course. Please test my English. You were the only recruiter that was honest with me about why I'm not getting a job."
Mm-hmm.
I interviewed him. His English was much better. I placed him a week later in one of my clients,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to reference, I think, a brilliant movie that is from India called Three Idiots,
Yeah.
right? It's an engineering movie where, again, the 3 friends,
Yeah.
one of them became a photographer. One of them, apparently, at the end of the movie, you find out was not even an engineer. He was the servant, but he was a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
And one of them eventually became an engineer because he followed the system.
Yeah.
But there's a lot, like Three Idiots is one of my favorite movies of all time,
Uh-huh.
right? And this is where, like, again, I'm not Indian, but I appreciate the message in that movie. I appreciate the message of be original, take action, follow your heart, let's say, right? And in that, you also have to understand that there's plenty of opportunities if you know how to look for them, if you know how to position yourself as I'm different than everybody else.
Awesome.
I can.
Awesome. Joe, you win the hearts and minds of everybody in South Asia now with us telling about very particularly in terms of differences of culture. Because when somebody coming from different cultures, they have different ways of appearance to show up on the interviews, even it's a recruiter or a manager. You gave a very specific example, Joe, about those, a lot of rings. Can you share with our audience to understand what is the difference between appearance and how do you present yourself?
So, for example, more often than not, men from India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, for example, they wear rings on their fingers. And I know because I've studied, I'm fascinated by culture, that the rings are status of, like, they're symbols of status, they're for health, they're for prosperity, they're part of the religion. And I respect that. But if an Indian, Sri Lankan, Pakistani man comes with 4 to 8 rings on this hand and 4 to 8 rings on this hand, it looks very unusual for Western culture. And even though you might be a brilliant candidate, they're so focused on the rings that they dismiss you because they don't pay attention to what you're saying because they're focused on how many rings you have. And especially when people don't know that this is part of the culture. So I say to people, so like when I coach immigrants from that area of the world, I say, listen, wear 1 or 2 rings and put the rest in your pocket. They're still on you. They're still kind of honoring your religion, culture and your beliefs.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go against what Western. Now, if you don't want to take them off, before the interview starts, you say, listen, the reason I'm wearing so many rings is because it's part of my culture.
Yes.
The moment you acknowledge that, they're not listening or watching the rings anymore because they don't care. Now they know why you're wearing so many rings. It's like, okay, fine, wear the rings, right? But similarly, like again, depending on religion, depending on like for example, in some cultures, some religions, looking into the eyes is very offensive because you're looking into the soul. So a little trick is to look above the eyebrows. It's a martial arts trick because you have peripheral vision, you can see around you. It gives a person the respect that they deserve, but it doesn't go against what you believe in, right? So, and this is especially true, let's say, with male, female, right? Because
that's
again,
another difference too,
right? Where especially, let's say, Muslim culture, the women aren't supposed to look into the eyes unless it's family or their husband kind of thing, right? So again, I'm not dismissing the religion. Look above. You're not looking into the eyes, but you're still giving respect in Western society, for example.
Great,
right?
Great points. और नाज़रीन अगर आपने ये सुना हुआ तो ये डिफरेंस है, ये वो क्या कहते हैं, ये वो चीजें जो हमें नजर आती हैं लेकिन हमने ऑलरेडी इतनी दफा की हो तो हमें शायद उनका एहसास नहीं होता कि वो 10 रिंग्स पहनी हुई या देखना नहीं है या नीचे देखना है. ये सारी चीजें अगर आप उनको फॉलो करते हैं तो या तो ये है कि अप फ्रंट आप फॉलो कर दें या उनको बता दें कि मैंने इसलिए पहनी हुई हैं और ये मैं पहनता हूँ, ये पार्ट ऑफ कल्चर, कोई मसला नहीं. लेकिन अगर आप उनको उतार देंगे तो फिर वो आपको एक डिफरेंट पेडेस्टल पे नहीं रखेंगे कि ये बंदा बाहर से आया, इसको यहाँ का मालूम नहीं. तो अगेन हम आपको बता रहे हैं कि कैसे वो कैनेडियन कल्चर के साथ आप मैच होते हैं ताकि आपको वो डिफरेंस ना लगे जब आप इंटरव्यू के लिए जाते हैं. Joe, I can attest to this that one time I was interviewing and I saw a big tattoo on somebody's hand, and I was like wanted to it was like so out there and it was so colorful. And then he shook hand with me and he explained that this is his daughter, and daughter's like angel. He wanted to keep it in heart and souls and everything. And once he shared this story, I was like even more inclined to look at it and appreciate it what he was. And that's what you were mentioning. But let's step to another step in appearance. You mentioned something which is kind of a more obvious, but from recruiter point of view, how to make sure you are rememberable when you appear in the interview, either online, virtually, or in person.
So again, this is kind of going back to marketing 101, which is brand yourself a specific way. So I'm wearing a purple shirt. I always wear a purple shirt when I go anywhere, when I network, when I this. Why? Because if somebody doesn't remember my name, but I send an email, say, hi, Rizwan, I met you yesterday at this event. I was wearing the purple shirt. You're probably going to remember the purple shirt.
To that because every time I met Joe, he was wearing purple shirt.
Right. So, for example, you're wearing a very nice, like a cravat tie kind of thing. It's not a tie, but it's a scarf or a tie. Yeah. But it's a conversation starter because it's different than everybody else. So for men, like you have your lapel here, you have there. You can have a colorful handkerchief. You can have a pin that's special. You can have a tie. Like when I used to wear ties, I used to wear like funny ties. Like I'd wear a Mickey Mouse tie. Why? Because it's silly, but if I'm speaking to you and I'm like, oh, like that's a Mickey Mouse tie. Yes, we're going to have a minute conversation. But now again, in the email, I'm going to say, I'm the guy with the Mickey Mouse tie. You're going to remember the Mickey Mouse tie, right? So for men, you can wear a hat. You can wear, like glasses are a certain way, a scarf, a tie, a pin, something unique that brands you. For women, it's a lot easier to play because they have a lot more choices, because they can do their hair a certain way, earrings, scarf, brooch or pin, a necklace, a particular outfit that they always wear that's colorful or memorable. And especially for immigrants from India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, one of the things that's great about your culture is how vivid the colors are of the saris and of the dress. So don't be afraid to actually show up to a networking event in your cultural colors, because everybody will remember it. It's like, oh, blue suit, gray suit, blue suit, gray suit, blue suit. Sorry. All of a sudden people are like, sorry, right? And it intrigues people. It kind of asks a question, but it allows you to kind of have that follow-up conversation there. So, culturally, again, like let's say with women, a lot of the gold bracelets and stuff like that, when there's too many of them, if people don't know that that's part of the culture, it's distracting. If you take ownership and say, I'm proud of my culture, it gets eliminated, and then people appreciate your fashion style. We'll call it that, right? So always kind of follow up the same way. Like my business card is purple. My website is purple. My signature is purple. It's consistent so that it's easier to brand. So the way that you write your resume, put your personality a little bit. Like if you are safer, don't want to take risk, maybe just change the headings on your resume to a different color. Or a different font. If you're more like if you're applying for graphic design, you're applying for something creative, put color all over your resume. Make your resume a masterpiece of work kind of thing.
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome.
Especially in marketing.
Marketing 101, brand yourself. And when you brand yourself, people remember you. And it has to be exactly Western culture, but you showing your own culture will connect you even more. A last question, and then I'm going to switch that to how Joe, you can connect with Joe and how Joe's course and coaching can help you get the job. But last question is, a lot of, especially the immigrant, get into this underpaid part of it. Salary negotiation is not there because they think, okay, whatever I get, even if I get an engineer job, I'm okay with the lesser than what others or regular pay. What do you say how to negotiate the salary? Because I think you nail the point, hit the nail on the head with the part using a recruiter, because they can negotiate on your behalf, so you'll get a little bit more, or actually according to what it's supposed to be. But if they are doing on their own using the job boards, how does the salary negotiation works best?
So salary negotiation is actually one of my favorite things to teach people. If you have confidence in what you have to offer, salary will never be an issue, right? So, and I'm going to share with you guys kind of a story in a second, but for example, some of the ways that I answer the salary question, especially in the first interview, this company goes, what do you expect to earn? What's this? I say, listen, when I applied for this job, there was no mention of the salary. What is the range for this position? Ask them right back, right? You can say, listen, I did my research on the market. The market pays between this and between this. I'm certain that if you think I'm a great candidate, you'll make me an offer in that range, right? You can also say, listen, before we discuss salary, I'd like to learn more about the position and what my role will be as it relates to the company, right? Because you haven't decided if you're ready to hire me, and I haven't decided if I want this job yet, right? Right? You can also say, listen, just because I'm a new immigrant and I might not necessarily earn or know what the Canadian equivalent is, I'm damn good at what I do, and I will produce results that will make your company more money. If you want to hire me, I'm certain you'll make me a great offer, right? And then one of my favorite ways to answer the salary question, again, this is part of my course where I give you, I think, 36 different ways to answer the salary question. I say the salary question is a trick question. If I give you a figure that's too low, I'm undervaluing what I'm worth. If I give you a figure that's too high, you're not going to hire me because I'm too high. If you think I'm the best candidate for this job, I'm certain you'll make me a great offer. But notice I've answered the salary question 5 different times, but I never gave a number. The worst thing you can do is give a number, because then you pigeonhole yourself to the number. If you have to give a number, always give a range, and then say, because I'm so good at what I do, I think I deserve the higher end of the range, for example.
The,
Right. But it all boils down to confidence. It boils down to, I'm a new immigrant, but this is how good I am.
गुड 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 नाजरीन, आपने ये देखा सैलरी नेगोशिएशन में भी एक वन ऑन वन है जिसमें जो ने बड़ा जबरदस्त बताया कि रेंज बात करें, मार्केट की, कंपनी की, उस इंडस्ट्री की रेंज की बात करें. जब आप रेंज की बात करते हैं और आपका कॉन्फिडेंट उनको बताता है, आपकी रिजल्ट ओरिएंटेड उनको बताता है कि आप बेस्ट कैंडिडेट हैं इस चीज के लिए, इसका मतलब है कि वो उस रेंज में बात करेंगे. या आप उनसे अगर सैलरी नेगोशिएशन में, जॉब मार्केट में, जॉब प्लेसमेंट में नहीं लिखा हुआ था रेंज का, तो आप रेंज के बारे में पूछ सकते हैं, फिर उसके हिसाब से बता सकते हैं. इट्स वेरी बहुत आम सी बात है कि आप कह सकें अगर मैं बेस्ट कैंडिडेट हूँ, मैं समझता हूँ मैं बेस्ट कैंडिडेट हूँ, मैं इस रेंज में काम करता हूँ और लामहला तौर पे मैं हायर एंड रेंज के साथ काम करता हूँ. Joe, this is a great information, and I have a few questions about students, but I'm going to ask you first. How do they connect with you? You have a great course. Talk about the course and how people can connect with you in order to get your services, because I think you would be a great source for all the immigrants out there who are newly immigrants or immigrants who are doing some random jobs, not in their own profession, their own industry, to get back into the profession and earn what they're destined for. Joe.
So again, I'm relatively active on social media. I have a Facebook group called Land Your Dream Job. The Celebrate group, my website, LinkedIn, Joseph Stetter. I've put in the chat. I don't know, Rizwan, if you can put it.
I see. Yeah.
The bit.ly link for my course, which is $97. It kind of gives you everything where you do it on your own. Obviously, if you want to hire me one-on-one, if you get a hold of me, I'll kind of explain the different packages that are available to you. Mm-hmm. But literally for $97, some of the information I've shared is in this program, where I've given you videos, I've given you audio, I've given you PowerPoints, I've given you PDFs. So you don't have to think. Everything is done for you. I've given you, let's say, a list of 300 agencies that you can work with in alphabetical order. I've given you a list of 250 websites that you can apply for jobs. I've given you templates of resumes. I've given you that because I want people to succeed. And this also is, because I know you mentioned students, similar for students, because if students don't have a lot of experience, they can highlight how well they do in school. They can highlight what projects they've done in school that are in the same category or relations to what they're studying. So if they're studying mechanical engineering, the story I shared earlier is my brother designed a wheelchair for third world nations that uses a tank chain so it can go on any terrain, right? So you don't need to be technical, but just giving that example, if I'm interviewing to be a mechanical engineer, now I'm like, whoever's interviewing going, wow, that's a pretty interesting idea. How did you think about it? How did you, like, what kind of engineering did you use to make the wheelchair use a tank chain? But now I can go into details of what the project was or what the result was without having experience, for example, right? Because again, I'm not hiring you because there's an empty chair and it looks weird. I'm hiring you because at the end of the day, if I'm a business, I want to make more money, I want to save more money, or I want to increase my efficiency. If you cannot produce one of those three for me, I don't want to hire you, right? Let's say, now, and again, like, let's say engineers will save me money or will increase my efficiency most of the time because they don't do the sales, right? Sales and marketing will make me money, right? Accounting will increase my efficiency, will save me money. So depending on the profession, sometimes it's hard to quantify what you do. But if you don't have numbers, I don't know how good you are. And just because you assume that in the interview, you will tell me how good you are, if I don't see it on your resume, you're never getting an interview.
This is amazing. Celebrategroup.ca, you can see on the screen, that is one of his website, and we're gonna comment in the comment, you will be able to see the link to his course. मैं चाहता हूँ कि वो लोग, स्पेशली जो प्रोफेशनल्स माइग्रेट करके हजारों मील दूर से अपना मुल्क छोड़ के इस मुल्क में आए हैं, کینیڈا میں آئے ہیں, جہاں پہ اپرچونٹیز ہیں, جہاں پہ چانسز ہیں آپ کو وہ ڈریم جاب لینے کے لیے, آپ کیوں پیچھے رک جائیں, کیوں پیچھے رہ جائیں؟ میرا خیال ہے اس پروگرام کے توسط سے ہم نے بہت ساری انفارمیشن آپ کو پرووائڈ کی ہے, لیکن میں پھر بھی سمجھتا ہوں کہ آپ کو انویسٹ کرنا پڑے گا کچھ نہ کچھ تھوڑا سا ان آرڈر ٹو گیٹ ٹو دا ڈریم جاب. اور میرا خیال ہے تھوڑا سا انویسٹ کر کے, یس آپ گوگل سے, آپ دوسری چیزوں سے آپ کچھ نہ کچھ ایکوائر کر لیں, لیکن آپ کو اسپیسیفک انفارمیشن جب تک نہیں ملے گی آپ پھر بھی مارے پھرتے رہتے ہیں, آپ ایگزیکٹلی وہاں پہ نہیں پہنچ سکتے. اسپیشلی جو نیو امیگرینٹ اس وقت آ رہے ہیں انڈیا, پاکستان, شری لنکا, بنگلہ دیش سے, جو ابھی یہ چاہتے ہیں انفارمیشن. دوسرا, آپ کو ان ریکروٹر کے ساتھ کنیکٹ کرنا پڑے گا جو آپ کے انڈسٹری اسپیسیفک ہیں, پھر آپ کو ملے گا. پھر ان ریکروٹر میں آپ کو پتا چلے گا کہ ہاؤ ٹو پریزنٹ یور سیلف, ہاؤ ٹو اسٹینڈ آؤٹ, ہاؤ ٹو بی یور برانڈ. اور جب آپ یہ کریں گے تو پھر ہی آپ کی ڈریم جاب آپ کو ملے گی, جو کہ آپ کا مقدر ہے, جو آپ کو ملنا ضروری ہے. اس پروگرام کرنے کا مقصد یہ تھا کہ آپ تک وہ انفارمیشن لے کے آئی جا سکے جو وہ کرتے ہیں, اور جو میرا خیال ہے بہترین آدمی ہے, این ایکسلنٹ انفارمیشن ہے, اس کے پاس 20 سال سے زیادہ کا ایز اے ریکروٹر تجربہ ہے, اور 11,000 سے زیادہ اس نے لوگ ہائر کرے سنگل ہینڈیڈلی بندے نے کیے. اٹ مینس اس کی ایکسپرٹیز, اس کے نالج میں ایک دم خم ہے, ایک بہت ویلیو ہے. تو اسی لیے میں آپ کے ساتھ شیئر کیا. جو تھینک یو سو مچ فار گیونگ لاٹ آف نالج, وزڈم. What I was sharing in Urdu is you hold ground in order to provide that value in terms of your expertise and knowledge after so many years in recruiting and helping a lot of people in there. I truly appreciate your time and sharing all of the information with us on this our show, London Living.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. It's been an honor. And again, I just want to give people that positive reinforcement that, you know what, if you do just a little bit more than everybody else, and you take that action, that dream job is right around the corner.
ناظرین, یہ تھا لنڈن لیونگ ود رضوان رشید, آپ کا ہوسٹ رضوان رشید, اور میرے ساتھ میرے گیسٹ تھے جو اسٹیڈر, جو سی ای او ہیں سیلیبریٹ گروپ کے. بڑی سیر حاصل گفتگو رہی, بڑی چیزوں پہ انہوں نے پوری ڈیٹیل میں بتایا. ریزیومے کیا ڈفرینسز ہیں, اس کے بعد اپیرنس کے حوالے سے, پھر آؤٹ ریچ کے حوالے سے, پھر برانڈنگ کے حوالے سے, پھر سیلری نیگوشیشن کے حوالے سے, اور بعد میں انہوں نے اپنا چھوٹا سا تعارف اپنے کورس کے حوالے سے کیا. یہ جو اسٹیٹر جس نے تقریباً 20 سال سے ریکروٹمنٹ کی دنیا سے ہیں, میں نے اس کو پرسنلی بڑے عرصے سے جانتا ہوں. ہزارہ لوگوں کی اس نے مدد کی ہے ان ٹرمز آف گیٹنگ دا رائٹ امپلائمنٹ, رائٹ انڈسٹری, رائٹ پروفیشن, رائٹ سیلری. اگر آپ کسی بھی طریقے سے اس مخمسے میں ہیں, گوگل یا یوٹیوب کے اندر ہی پھنسے ہیں, تو اس سے نکل کے تھوڑی سی دیکھیں کہ کون سا پروفیشنل آپ کو آپ کی ڈریم جاب لے کے دے سکتا ہے. میری ٹوٹل گفتگو کا حاصل یہ تھا کہ آپ کو وہ انفارمیشن, وہ چیزیں پرووائڈ کی جائیں جو ریکروٹر کی آنکھ سے نظر آ رہی ہیں. امید ہے آپ کو یہ پسند آیا ہوگا. آپ اپنی آراء سے, اپنے فیڈ بیک سے ضرور آگاہ کیجیے گا. دیکھتے رہیے لنڈن لیونگ ود رضوان رشید ہر ہفتے آن منڈے ایٹ 7 PM آن کینیڈا 1 TV. اپنے گھر والوں کا خیال رکھیے گا, اور اللہ کرے وہ آپ کو ڈریم جاب جو کینیڈا میں آپ ڈریم لے کے آئے, اور اس ڈریم جاب کے ساتھ ساتھ آپ کو ڈریم لائف جو آپ کے ذہنوں میں, خیالوں میں ہے آپ کے لیے, آپ کی فیملی کے لیے, وہ ممکن ہو سکے جو آپ ہمیشہ سے سوچتے آئے ہیں. پروگرام دیکھنے کا بہت شکریہ. اجازت چاہتا ہوں. اللہ حافظ.